I hope you can hear me on TikTok. If you can put a sound up. Good morning, folks, and welcome to another show this morning. Today is Thursday, the 29th of of January. It's cold and breezy out there. Anyone in Dublin, it's cold and breezy. It looks dry still at the moment. They say it's something like 4 degrees, but it feels like -2. So, as far as you're concerned and I'm concerned, it's -2. And in London at the moment, it's also 2 degrees. So this is not your weather forecast, but just be careful out there today, because it's saying to be a lot more rain in Ireland today. So just watch out for each other and take it easy on the roads and just be very careful. So thank you for joining me. My name is Mark Beggs. I do this show every weekday morning, and Mark's Business Check-In from 7:30 a.m. for about 20 minutes, just to talk to you about business and my experience of running my own companies or involved in business over the last 30 years, to talk about the mistakes I've made that I hope you won't make, so the banana skins that you don't slip on them, and also the things that work for me that may work for you if you're having the same challenges, because we all have the same challenges in business. The only difference is the scale of the challenge and how big our company is. That's the only difference. So we all have the same challenges every day, whether it's paying the wages, whether it's keeping the lights on, whether it's keeping the mobile phone on, whether it's chasing new customers, whether it's getting money in, whether getting investment in, growing the business. We all have the same challenges, just they all hit us at different times of the day, the week, the month, and the year. That's what's happening. So this one thing I talked about yesterday was the quickest way to grow your company was to buy another company. And I have 1 or 2 emails in which I want to answer. So I said, the quickest way to grow your own company is to buy another company. And no matter what size you are, don't be scared in looking to buy another company. And I said to everybody yesterday when I, when I signed off, one of the things you should do. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. One of the things you should do is definitely today or yesterday, think about who would be the ideal company you would buy to make your company bigger and better and to add on more value and to add on more customers and to add on more expertise, maybe in the way of staff and stuff like that. Who would that company be? And I said to you to reach out to them. That all it costs is a price of a coffee or an email or a DM to start that conversation to see is something worthwhile there about 2 companies getting together. And maybe you might find a company where it's been going longer than you have, and maybe they want to retire, the owners do, and you might come along just at the right time. So you never know what that company is out there or who you will find. So one person wrote in and said that it's a mechanic. He said he has a decent sized business doing servicing and doing repairs. He's been in the business for 6 or 7 years. And he's looking at now expanding the business. And having heard the show yesterday, he never thought about buying another mechanics business and bolting onto his own. Because one of the problems he has and challenges he has is finding the expertise, finding the mechanics, finding the motor repair people to get more people in. So he said he can find some customers, but he cannot find an awful lot of the expertise that he needs in. But also, he said, he wants to go into more in, look at going in maybe doing trucks and commercial, and a lot of stuff that he does at the moment is your normal cars from other people, the normal consumer. But he said the challenge he faces, having listened to the show yesterday, was he is now aware that if he buys someone else and he has someone in mind, that he may have to let go of some staff. He may have to say to some people, I don't need you anymore. Because he said the company he's looking at buying, or the company he's thinking of approaching now, I haven't listened to us yesterday, and he's going to have a cup of coffee with him in the next day or two to see if they open to it. He thinks they are, because he said the garage he's looking maybe at acquiring, it's a much older business than he is, and he reckons the owners are near time of retiring. So he said it would suit him to look at this other company by buying. He said, how would you handle the staff? Now, I did say to him, one of the big issues and one of the big things is, first of all, when you take over another person's business, you take it over as a going concern, which means you take over all their responsibilities, including the staff. So all the staff contracts go to you when you take it over. But he said he's aware that he doesn't need two back offices, he doesn't need two accountants and two people chasing money. He doesn't need all that type of stuff. And he said, how does he tell people that he's worried about telling people that he no longer needs them? And that's a hard one, because we all work with people who maybe they've been with us from very early on in starting our business, who maybe when you acquire someone else, that you may realize that how good you thought they were, that they're not. That take a sales director for argument's sake. You may realize that the sales director for the company you're acquiring is actually very good. It's actually better than your sales director. And is actually more included in or tuned in to the marketplace, to the customer's needs. And that it actually has a better way of handling customers. And this may wake you up to realize that maybe part of the challenge of growing was that some of your senior management team or some of your people weren't as good as you thought you were. And this has held you back. Now, maybe you've secretly known that for a long time, but through loyalty, and there's nothing wrong with loyalty, because loyalty is what drives a lot of businesses. And being loyal to our staff is very important, and making sure we look after them. Sorry, folks, my throat's very dry this morning. And making sure we look after them is very important. But what about if you have to let them go? What about if you decide that as part of the new entity, that you're going to keep the sales director from the other company that you're buying rather than your own? And that's a decision that you need to make with your head, first of all, because what people will tend to do is make it with their heart. And it's a business decision, and you need to make it with your head, first of all. And then you need to decide, if you have decided that you are going to let this person go, you're going to make them redundant, that your loyalty will continue in the sense that you'll give them enough notice, and you'll give them a very good package to go away on. And you will help them as much as possible to find a new role. Because nobody likes being made redundant. I've been made redundant in my life, and it's not nice, and it's not great. And no matter what someone else says to you, you still feel like shite. And that's the reality of it. You still feel terrible. So, but in both instances when I was made redundant, the other people weren't helping. They gave me a good package. They said that there was no need for my services anymore. So they gave me a good package, which was fantastic. But it still hurts. Now, if they hadn't worked with me, and when I working with me, it means maybe helping me prepare my CV, helping me find a recruitment company that is in my area of expertise, helping me maybe find one or two training courses, upskill me from me going out there. So they're the type of things that if you are going to make people redundant, and it's never ever nice making people redundant, but you have to weigh it up with you growing your business for you and your family, and being loyal to your staff, and basically you and the family come first, and sadly your staff do come next. But you have to do your best in every way to help them find their new opportunity. And maybe you could ring around other competitors or other suppliers or other customers who employ salespeople, asking do they have a vacancy, that because of the new merged company, you have someone here that sadly you no longer need, but you will give them a fantastic recommendation, you will give them a fantastic reference, all that type of stuff that you will do. And someone says to me, it happens to everyone part of growing up. Very few staff are loyal. Yeah, I don't fully agree with that. But I do think it's very easy for staff in one way, and I don't mean this flippantly, to find a new job. I remember when I had to lay off, when we closed down the advertising company, when we got hit by a bad debt of over £500,000, and we had no choice but to close the business down. And that was our legal advice. Most of the staff that we let go that day, the 60 staff, most of them were working again in new jobs within 2 to 3 weeks. I wasn't working for over a year or more because I was self-employed. I was the managing director. It was my business. All the hassle and all the bad press, or whatever you want to call it, everyone like will blame me for not being doing it right. And it was my fault. I gave someone too much credit. Um, Someone said it's not. Someone on TikTok, it says it's not the job of the employer to find a job for everyone they are laying off. No, it's not. No, you are right. It's not the employer's job. But if you have someone that's been working with you for a good while, and you are going to make them redundant, it does help if you put certain things into place, certain resources into place to help them find a new job. Because you have to go from their perspective too. It's very hard being told your job is no longer there. Because remember, that person had hopes, dreams, and aspirations. Maybe they were hoping to go on holidays. Maybe they're hoping to get a mortgage. Maybe they're hoping to get a new car. Maybe they're hoping to get engaged. You don't know what's going on in that person's life. Maybe they're going to pay school fees. Maybe they're going to bring the kids on holidays. You don't know what's going on in that person's life, financially or anything. So you have to do your best as a human being and as a person and as a boss to help that person find a new job. And as I said, part of that could be simply saying, right, I'm going to help you upskill. I'm going to buy one or two online courses for you. I'll send you to this course. I'll send you to this thing that's happening somewhere in town or in London or in the city or wherever. I think you should talk to these people, go to this course, or I think you should do this exam, and we'll pay for you to do it to help you upskill. And I think that is important, that you do help people get the skill set they need to be better than they are, And so that email that came in, that mechanic, I will say to him, it's not going to be easy. If you decide to buy another company, and I think everyone who has a business, who's trying to grow sales, who's trying to grow their customer base, should seriously look at acquiring another company in their field, or something that will help, and something in maybe in another expertise that may help the company. Maybe it's some type of service they're trying to get into that they don't do now. As I said, the mechanic who emailed me, and he does domestic cars for servicing, and he's now looking to get into commercial as well. So he's going to approach someone after listening to my show yesterday. He's going to approach someone and ask them would they be interested in maybe doing a deal. And he says this other company has been in business much longer than he has, and he reckons the owner is tired and maybe looking forward to retirement, and this could give him some cash in the pocket, and I mean legitimate cash by doing it the right way, and giving them an out from the business. Because the challenge when you run your own company, if you're small enough, it's very hard to sell that business and move on. If you are coming towards retirement, or if you come up to a stage where you want to change direction, you've decided you've been in this business for a long time, you're fed up, you want to go and do something different, and for whatever reason, if you're small, it's very hard to move your company on if you're approaching people to buy you. But if you are of a decent scale and a decent turnover and of a decent size and of a decent customer base, well, then it's a nice proposition for someone else to take you over. So building a company up to a stage that that it looks well and is inviting for someone else to buy you is part of growing the business. So letting staff go, sorry. Sorry. Letting staff go and all that type of stuff is part of it. Because when you buy another business, one of the big things you're going to do and sit down is go through every single cost line for both businesses, and see what can you reduce. You know there's already fat there because you brought both companies together. You know there's duplication in employment, duplication in marketing, duplication in advertising, duplication in accountancy, duplication in suppliers. You know there's duplication there. And the hard bit now, sometimes the easy bit is buying to the company. The hard bit is now bringing the two of them together into one and merging them and getting rid of all that excess fat, excess cost, and getting rid of it. And by the way, even if you're not buying someone, if you have a business, at least every 6 months, you should be going through every single line of your costs. Every 6 months, you should be going through every single line of your costs and saying to yourself, right, how can I reduce all those items by 25%? Every 6 months. And if you do that, you'll keep your business lean and mean. Jack Welch from General Electric, the famous Jack Welch who ran General Electric for many years and brought it back from nearly going bust, he always said that you should look at costs and try and reduce costs by 25%. And if that does not hurt you, you should reduce it by another 10%. Because it should hurt you. You shouldn't have too much fat in your cost line. So you should, every 6 months, I tell anyone who I mentor and people who I do workshops for, I always tell them every 6 months, you should go through every line of your costs and say to yourself, how to reduce that by 25%. And if it doesn't hurt you, reduce it by another 10%. Every 6 months, because the problem with costs is, even though you start off the year, we're a very tight ship. Cost bleeds in, it just comes in. You find that someone's bought something you didn't need to. Someone's taken on a new service provider that you didn't really need it. It's excess. Someone's added something else. And you'll find as your turnover grows and your profitability grows, you'll focus less and less on cost. Because your view will be, we can afford it. Sure, we can afford that. Sure, we can pay for that. Sure, that's no problem. But that's the time when you need to be looking daily, monthly, every 6 months at your cost line. Because you need to be driving the profit, you need to be driving the turnover, you need to be driving the margins, and the way that is control the cost. So to go back to my mechanic friend, if you decide to buy this other company and merge it into your own business, and you do a deal, and I hope you do a deal, and if you need any more advice, just email me in. But if you do a deal, you're going to have to go in there with your eyes open, knowing you're going to have to make some staff redundant. It won't be easy, but if you look after them, and you look after them well, you give them a decent package, you give them as much, make a few phone calls, if you send them to 1 or 2 training courses, if you look after them well, then that's all anyone can ask of you. But if you're going to go and buy some other company, don't always assume the staff being made redundant are people from the other company who you don't know, and it makes it easier for yourself. That will not be the fact. Because remember, when you buy another company, you want to keep the customers of that company. So you have to keep some of the staff who know and understand the new customers that you're now taking on. They may have worked with those customers for many years and have a fantastic relationship. So it's a hard decision. And also just don't assume the back office, like the accountancy and the staff, the company you're acquiring, it'd be much easier to get rid of all of them because you don't know them. But again, they may have relationships with suppliers and with people who owe you money. So you have to be very careful how you do it. And also, the person you're selling the company to might insist that the certain members of staff he believes you should keep on as part of the deal, because maybe you want to do a deal where you're going to pay him or her off over 2 or 3 months, 2 or 3 years. Well, then he or she might just say to you, in order for that to happen, you're going to have to keep on these key people. Otherwise, I cannot see how you're going to be able to pay me over 2 or 3 years. So just keep that in mind. So if you are going to make people redundant, it's important, very important, you do it right. You remember they're human beings. You remember they have commitments. You remember they have aspirations. They have dreams. And you have to make sure that you do it right for them and for you, so that you will feel terrible letting people go. We all do. But that you'll feel you have done enough to help them move on to the next phase of their life, the next phase of their career, the next phase of their experience. So you need to manage it and manage it well. And that's what I'll say to my mechanic friend who's thinking of acquiring another company. That's the way you do it, by making sure you look after them and look after them well. And to the best of your ability. And that's all anyone can ask. All right, folks. Thanks so much for joining me this morning. As I said, today is Thursday. My name is Mark Beggs. I do this show every weekday from 7:30 for about 20 minutes. We're live on LinkedIn, we're live on YouTube, and we're live on Instagram, and we're live on TikTok. If you missed any of the shows, you want to go back and look at any of the shows, they're all on my YouTube channel. And I would love you to subscribe there. I'd love you to follow me on TikTok or any of the, everywhere you're listening to me. If you can follow me or subscribe, I would really appreciate it. We have a lot of free videos. All the last shows are up on YouTube. We have an awful lot of training videos with some fantastic training videos free on my YouTube channel. So we have a great sales training video. We have a great video for going for interviews and stuff like that. So it's all up there on the YouTube channel. If you have any issues around neurodiversity, dyslexia, dyspraxia, ADHD, we have an awful lot of free resources on our site. Called mindseyeducation.com. So mindseyeducation.com. If you have staff or you're worried about staff who maybe are dyslexic, dyspraxic, ADHD, autistic, how are you going to look after them in the workplace? And how are you going to manage them? And how are you going to make sure that they get the most out of the workplace and you get the most out of them work-wise? Well, go on to mindseyeducation.com. And as I said, we've also an awful lot of interviews we've done, podcasts I've done with different people, well-known business owners, all up there free of charge on our YouTube site at mindseyeducation.com. Do follow us, do subscribe, and I'll see you. I'm going to say goodbye to everybody on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram now, and say I'll see you all tomorrow morning, Friday, same time, same place, from the studios in Dublin, at 7:30 a.m. Hope you all have a great day. It's going to be a wet today. It's going to be windy in Dublin. Be very careful out there, driving, walking, wherever you are. Just be careful and look out for other people and make sure other people are safe as well. Take care of yourself.